On the Varathi homeworld, the council gathered in terror. For the first time in centuries, they faced an enemy who answered arrogance with annihilation. They sent out envoys under white flags, desperate to beg for peace. But Earth never answered their pleas. Humanity's silence was colder than any threat. Weeks later, human fleets arrived in orbit of Varath Prime itself. No words were spoken, no demands made. Dreadnoughts opened fire, their weapons reducing the Council's citadel to molten glass in moments. The Varathi's reign ended not with defiance, but with a whimper drowned in thunder. When it was over, when the last human ship withdrew into folded space, the galaxy held its breath. Because the lesson was clear. The Varathi had mocked. They had slaughtered innocents and boasted to the stars. They thought Earth slow, powerless, hesitant. But retaliation had arrived before their first message home did. Epilogue: a whisper in the dark. Across the galaxy, the story spread in hushed tones. Traitors, diplomats, even rival warlords, all spoke of the retaliation. They spoke of how quickly it came, how utterly it destroyed, how it gave no chance for mercy. "Never provoke Earth again," they whispered. For humanity's patience was vast, but their vengeance was infinite. And all knew this truth. The galaxy would forget many battles, but it would never forget the night retaliation outran the screams. The stars bore witness to arrogance that night. The Karzek Dominion, a war-born empire that had conquered 100 species before, fell upon humanity's outer colony of Arden Prime. The skies over the fertile world burned as their dread carriers unleashed molten fire upon cities that had no weapons to answer. Civilians ran in terror, not soldiers. Farmers, engineers, children. The Karzek made no distinction. They descended in orbital dropships with metallic laughter ringing through their comms, recorded for their archives as if history itself would praise them. "We cut the weeds before they grow," sneered their commander, High Talon Vage. "Earth breeds too fast. Let them learn that distance cannot hide them. Let this colony be our message. Resistance is death." Before dawn ended, Arden Prime was ash and ruin. Its transmissions, desperate cries for help, were jammed, silenced under the Dominion's electronic smothering. But in their cruelty, the Karzek made one mistake. They recorded their triumph for boasting, not realizing a single encrypted human courier drone had slipped through the blockade. That drone carried fragments of their massacre across the stars. What they had not yet realized was that Earth's answer was already in motion. Retaliation was not waiting for their message. It was already coming. Laughter in the halls of the Dominion. The Karzek fleet basked in triumph. Their ships hung in orbit like vultures feeding on a corpse. Soldiers drank in their bloodlit halls, replaying the planetary bombardment again and again on massive hollow screens. "Pathetic creatures," one of them spat. "Soft flesh, no claws, no scales. How did they even think they could seed worlds without our permission?" "They won't last long," another answered. "Humans always speak of treaties, of law, of peace, but in the end they are prey like the rest." High Talon Vage raised his goblet of molten steel and roared. "Mark this as the beginning of Earth's submission. They will sue for peace. They will crawl to our throne, and their young will serve in our war forges." The chamber filled with laughter. None questioned the act. None considered consequence. The Dominion's arrogance was forged in centuries of unchecked conquest, a belief that no fledgling species could ever strike back. But across the galaxy, silence was breaking. The silence shatters. In the command halls of Earth's United Fleet, the drone from Arden Prime had already arrived. The footage played in terrible silence. Cities burning, civilians screaming, Karzek soldiers laughing over the bodies of the dead. There were no speeches, no debates in the Chamber of Admirals. Humanity did not convene another council, did not draft another treaty. The decision was older than the Dominion itself. Fleet Command issued a single directive, its words etched into history with the chill of inevitability. Operation Nemesis commence. On the far side of Luna, hangar doors larger than mountains opened. From Earth's shipyards rose dreadnoughts unseen by alien eyes, colossal war machines built in silence, carried on patience, armored in the resolve of a people who had suffered long histories of war. They called them Titan-class vessels, each one carrying the firepower of nations. Their engines ignited like newborn suns, and their hulls bore the scars of countless simulations of extinction. Comms across human space lit with a single transmission, repeated in a dozen languages, broadcast to allies and enemies alike. To those who strike humanity, we do not forgive, we do not forget. Retaliation has already begun. The Dominion had not yet sent their victory message home. Their couriers still prepared the tapes of conquest, but even before they could announce their glory, shadows moved in the void. Humanity's vengeance was faster. When retaliation took form, the Karzek first noticed the silence. Arden Prime's orbital sensors had been restored, but not by them. One by one, their relays went dark. Their patrol ships failed to report in. Their long-range scans revealed nothing. Then the void rippled. Out of hyperspace tore a wedge of metal so vast it blotted the stars. Behind it came another, and another, dozens, then hundreds. The Dominion's fleet, mighty though it was, looked suddenly small. A Titan-class dreadnought filled the Dominion's comms with a voice that was not shouted, not angered, but cold and final. Karzek Dominion, you touched Earth blood, now you stand trial. No negotiation, no warning beyond those words, then came the strike. Human ships moved with terrifying precision, formations drilled for decades, weapons calibrated to perfection. Rail cannons the size of skyscrapers fired slugs at near-light velocity, punching through Dominion battleships as if they were paper. Swarms of autonomous drones poured forth, each armed with intelligence enough to dismantle entire fleets. The Dominion tried to form ranks, but their commands were choked by jamming fields that turned their orders into static. Human cyber warriors had already gutted their systems before the first shot was fired. To the Dominion soldiers, it was not war, it was annihilation. Retribution unleashed. The skies above Arden Prime, once filled with Dominion fire, now erupted with Earth's wrath. Human ground forces descended like storms. Exosuits, towering machines of steel and fury, struck the surface in controlled meteor drops. Each impact shook mountains. Soldiers of Earth did not speak as they advanced. They did not taunt. Their silence was heavier than any roar. Dominion garrisons fell in hours, not days. Their commanders screamed into comms that no longer reached reinforcements. Their proud banners burned in the mud. In orbit, Titan dreadnoughts cut through carriers and cruisers, their weapons raking across hulls with merciless efficiency. Entire Dominion flotillas vanished in white fire. Escape pods were not spared. Earth's vengeance did not differentiate soldier from general. All had shared in the massacre, all were answerable. For every child that had died on Arden Prime, 100 Dominion warriors burned. For every city turned to ash, a fleet was erased. It was not revenge, it was judgment. Silence after the fire. When the battle ended, there was no battle left. The Dominion fleet above Arden Prime had been erased, not defeated, erased. The human armada stood unchallenged, their ships scarred but unbroken, their silence echoing louder than any victory cry. Among the few Dominion survivors, whispers began. They did not dare speak loudly, for fear that even sound might draw humanity's eye again. "They came too fast before we even sent word home," one muttered. Another, trembling, whispered, "We mocked them, we thought them prey, but their vengeance is endless." Across the galaxy, word spread faster than any courier, not through official channels but through terrified rumor, through the hushed voices of refugees and spies. The tale was always the same. Humanity did not wait. Humanity did not forgive. Retaliation had arrived before arrogance could even be celebrated. On worlds far from the fight, alien leaders held secret councils, their voices heavy with dread. One phrase emerged from every chamber, whispered in every language: "Never provoke Earth again." The infinite patience, the infinite vengeance. Humanity did not parade its victory. There were no broadcasts of triumph, no monuments carved in glory. The Armada simply returned to the void, leaving silence behind. But the lesson remained. Humanity's patience was long, yes. They would endure insult, endure posturing, endure arrogance longer than most species could imagine. But patience was not weakness. Patience was the gathering of storms, the sharpening of blades, the forging of fleets in silence. When their patience ended, their vengeance was infinite. The Dominion had thought themselves gods of conquest. That night, they learned they had angered something far older, far colder, and far more enduring. They had touched human grief, and in return they had tasted human rage. Retaliation had arrived before their message home did, and the galaxy would never forget.